Let's now talk about Russia's growing military might. Russia is pouring vast resources into its military. At the center of this military expansion is basically a Kremlin decree that came out on Monday, according to which the Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered the conscription of 133,000 new servicemen. This draft will run from the 1st of October until the end of the year. Reports say young men between the ages of 18 and 30 will serve in the military units across Russia for 12 months, adding another wave of manpower to the already substantial Russian army. But you see, there is something important to note here. These conscripts are not being sent to fight in Ukraine, and this raises an even bigger question. Why does Russia actually need these many new soldiers, and what is it preparing for? Let's just look at the bigger picture here. This is not just about drafting more men into the army. In fact, Putin has already ordered a massive expansion of the military, remember, calling for 180,000 additional troops and aiming to bring the total number of active servicemen to 1.5 million. 1.5 million. Let that sink in. 1.5 million active troops, making it the second largest military force in the world. So what's really driving this massive increase in military might? Russia has not given out the exact reason behind the conscription, but despite what Russia really says, recent history indicates that the autumn conscription drive is likely to be linked to the ongoing war in Ukraine ahead of winter, a period in which both sides target each other's energy infrastructure and distribution lines to affect transportation of key items like food grains, agriculture items, amid severely cold and harsh conditions in the northern hemisphere. You see, Russia has done similar such conscriptions in the past. Despite Russia initially stating otherwise, conscripts were still reportedly deployed along the Russia-Ukraine border and could be called upon to sign contracts and be battle ready. The war, which began in 2022, continues to drag on with no end in sight. Despite the heavy losses, both in manpower as well as equipment, Russia has no intention really of backing down, it seems. In fact, reports suggest that it's only doubling down. The Kremlin, as per reports, is pumping in more money than ever into its defense sector, making it clear that military strength remains a top priority. By 2025, defense spending will hit a record 13.5 trillion rubles. That's about $120 billion. Just to put that in perspective, that's 25% more than what Russia is spending this year, which was already a record, by the way, 25% more. And this is happening despite the enormous economic pressures caused by Western sanctions. Russia's leaders have reportedly embraced what economists call military Keynesianism. What is that? Basically, this means the government is channeling vast sums of money into the military, which is having a ripple effect across the entire economy. It's driving inflation, yes, but it's also fueling economic growth in some sectors, particularly those tied to military production. In Moscow, it seems the narrative is quite clear. Putin has repeatedly said that all of Russia's objectives in Ukraine will be met, perhaps fueled by recent gains on the battlefield, particularly in eastern Ukraine. But this is not just about winning the war in Ukraine anymore. The Kremlin perhaps sees this as a larger, more existential struggle, a standoff with the West that demands a much larger, more powerful military. And that's exactly what they seem to be building. The numbers further speak for themselves. Russia's massive investment in its military and defense sector now accounting for nearly 40% of the government's total spending. That's a staggering amount. Now, let's focus on the economy specifically. Despite sanctions and the lack of access to Western markets, as per reports, Russia's economy is showing signs of solid growth. Industrial output, largely driven by military production, is reportedly rising. In fact, in July alone, industrial production was up 3.3%. And overall, Russia's GDP grew by 4.6% in the first half of this year, reportedly much higher than expected. Amid all these developments, the war between Russia and Ukraine continues. Reports say Russian forces have captured the village of Nelipivka on the eastern Ukrainian front line. Ukraine's general staff reportedly did not disclose any details about the fall of the village, but acknowledged that Russian forces launched 10 attacks in and around it. Meanwhile, Russia launched multiple drone attacks targeting Kiev in nearly a 5-hour-long attack, according to reports. Ukraine's military has said the drones were either destroyed by defense systems or neutralized. No casualties or damage were reported in the incident so far. And as the war continues, one thing seems to be clear. Russia is gearing up for a long, prolonged conflict. Its military is expanding at an unprecedented rate, and its economy has fully shifted into war mode. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.